Hi everyone. Okay, how are we feeling? I'd love to see in the chat, actually. I'd like to do just a little bit of a temp check because we're 3 days into a 4 day event, even though you'll find out today that we've got a bonus day next week. But we're 3 days in. I mean, we're obviously beginning the 3 day, the third day. But I'd love to see in the chat kind of what's been your greatest insight already. I've already been speaking to the support coaches, and we're just amazed at how open everyone is being, how aware everyone's being, how honest everyone's being. It really is such a pleasure because these events aren't just like me talking into the abyss. I would lose my mind. Like genuinely, I would lose my mind if it was just me talking to the abyss, which is why pretty much all of our products and programs are taught live the first time. Because for me, like you guys being here is what nourishes me, right? Do you know what I mean? We're all social beings. We're all, we all thrive in connectivity. And so I've been speaking to the support coaches today, and both of them have said to me, like, the homeworks that you guys are doing, like what you're doing in terms of pre-work, like the honesty that you guys are having, the willingness that you are bringing to the DMs in how you're allowing yourself to be seen in an imperfect form. Like, it's really amazing. So for those of you guys that are doing that, like massive fucking pat on the back because it's not easy to be that honest, actually. You guys are making it look easy. You're making it look like it's normal and natural. But for most of the world, that's not easy. And it's like some people don't have those levels of awareness in a lifetime, right? So anyway, I would like to see a kind of a bit of an awareness thing into the chat. Any insight that you've had that's come through? Just because again, it's really interesting when you talk about the process of integration, because integration is a neurological process, right? Information, when it's not integrated in your system, it's just information, there's no transformation there, right? But when there's integration into the system, which means like we've actually created some grooves in your neurology, sorry, and in your energy body, that's where we start to experience transformation, right? So sometimes the act of thinking back and distilling what you've learnt and writing it out, Gemma, your face with the pencil is absolutely cracking me up. Don't take it out. It's wonderful. Put that pencil back in. It's brilliant. I'm like, I love it, right? The process of thinking back to what you've watched, really picking out some insight, and writing it in the chat, like that's part of your integration process. So that's why we're beginning that way. So Anna says biggest revelation was that I am that love is dangerous. Yeah. I never thought of it that way, like a penny drop. This is it. And this is why yesterday I just wanted to begin straight into those questions, right? Because I wanted you to see bits of yourself. I think Abby dropped something into the group. By the way, I'll probably start coming into the WhatsApp group and answering the questions. Might be tomorrow, might be over the weekend. I sometimes like to just have a bit of a space to tune in. That's why we're doing the support coaches, because if not, it's just way too many things for one person, myself being that one person. Um, but keep those questions coming, right? I love the fact that they're coming in. Just give me a little bit of time on those responses there, yeah? But Abby threw one in as well around relationships, one of her breakthroughs that she had of the belief system. So that's huge. If you've taken that away, guess what? You've now got a door to your hamster wheel. If anyone heard that without having come to the other days, they'd be like, what the fuck do you mean you've got a door to your hamster wheel? So that's really only clear if you watch day one. Okay, that I suck at spending money, although I didn't know it. And then I'm not really living authentically. Beautiful. That's amazing. Yeah, it's a funny thing because the thing is, when we are so in ourself and we've not been put into a situation where we're stepping back and we're able to observe ourselves, we just think that our behavior is the way. We just think that it is, right? We don't realize that there's actually another possibility. Okay. So many things running through my mind, hard to pick one, but limiting beliefs definitely. And the combo of the mental and the energetic part of it, amazing, Sophie. Oh, safety is dangerous. That makes sense, Daniela. Daniela's one of my long-term clients. That makes sense from the conversations that we've had. So that's yeah, because Daniela's in a really interesting place. Like she's done so well, but there's this part of her that can't feel safe in how well she's done, and we have this conversation a lot. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, when you said about the well-being thermostat, I connected some major dots to why I kept stopping just before breakthroughs. Yeah, amazing. The upper limit stuff is it's huge because again, we're not taught this stuff at school, so we sabotage and then we get annoyed at ourselves, don't we? And we blame ourselves and we're really critical. And no one has built forward momentum by being a dick to themselves, right? We can only actually create change when there is the hamster door, wheel door awareness, walking through it, responsibility, right? Self-criticism and blame, it actually doesn't produce results. It just doesn't produce results, yeah? So biggest revelation was how I can deepen through layers of awareness and also the importance of the diagnostic practices. Yes. Limiting beliefs around love, loving myself is stopping me from matching my desire for love. Yeah, amazing. This is brilliant. And so, what I want to remind you guys, and this wasn't really in the syllabus for today, but clearly you guys are seeing that I'm doing whatever the fuck I want to do in this training. If you have found these limiting beliefs, like I really, really want to anchor this in, like really celebrate it. Because the second that you can observe it, you've just opened the possibility for another potential. And even though we're not told this, we kind of just think, oh, I'm an unlucky person, or I was born into X family. Hi, Nicole, darling. Nicole, here live. I love the fact that you're telling me. What was going to say, so just because I've been born into X family, we've been taught, right? If I've been born into X family, that's my fate, right? That's what the rest of my life is going to look like. And you can be in a pattern for 50 years, you can be in a pattern for 20 years, you can be in a pattern for like a lifetime, and you can still change that pattern because there's awareness and then there's transformation. So we don't want to think that if you've got things that have come up and you've really lived that story many years and you've lived that story for a long time, that's not evidence and that's not showing you that you're not going to be able to transform it. That's just showing you that that's what belief systems do. It's just proof of the mechanism, nothing else, not of your worthiness, right? So a couple more shares, and then I'm going to go into what we do are doing today. So excited for today. So many things. Honestly, the 100% responsibility piece, yeah, really landed from day one. My relationship with money. I ignore money, so it ignores me, literally. I need to nurture my relationship. Yeah, the upper limit yesterday also really hit home, and I've been thinking about that loads with Summer's help. Amazing. And how this has turned up from childhood and the way that I held everything together with no compensation. Oh, yeah, that is definitely something that we want to look at. Okay, I went deep in diagnosing subconscious beliefs today. Lots of rage has been coming up. Beautiful. That's amazing. That's good. If you've emotions that come up, that's really good. They're coming up to be processed so they can be released from the system. Yeah. My position in life is always about me and not about other people or other aspects of my life. 100%. Okay, so I'm going to talk about money today, and I'm going to preempt this with I'm just going to really say, like, for some of you guys, it's going to really piss you off what I say today. Like for some of you, it's going to be like, it's just going to be extremely annoying because I'm going to talk about this in such a matter of fact, simple way that it will, for some people, feel irritating. Okay. That's okay if you're one of those people. Again, like I talked to on day one, lean into it, right? Just lean into what if wealth was that easy? It's not easy and it is easy. And I'm going to explain that when we go into it today. For some of you guys, it's going to be like, you know what I'm saying. For some of you guys, it's going to be like, you already live this way. For some of you guys, it's going to be like, you know that that's the way that you're heading and you're totally open to the teachings, right? But money is one of those things, and it's extraordinary that this is true. It's one of these things that brings up so much for people, even though like we all need money, right? It's like it's crazy how much of a taboo topic it is to share with someone how much money you make. It's crazy how much of a taboo topic it is to ask someone how much money they make. Not in my client communities. We're all like, these are the exact numbers, you know? Like it's not a thing. But in our society at a large, obviously we come from multiple different current countries. We had 35 different countries signed up just for this event when I checked last, which was last week, right? So it's different cultures. Yes, there is nuance, but on a major level, we are quite uncomfortable with the topic of money. And yet, we need money to buy everything, really, for our existence. So it's a crazy juxtaposition. Yeah. Same about sex. So taboo, and everyone fucks. Everyone spends money, everyone has sex, and everyone dies. But guess what we do not like to discuss? Right? Like it's just crazy. I was told when I was little that it's vulgar. Exactly. What's wrong to talk about money? Yeah, exactly. I ask people when I meet them, what's your sex life like? I'm sure that goes down a tree, Abby. Abby works with sex, so it makes sense that you would ask that. But yeah, but we're not comfortable with it, right? So we're going to go into money today, not sex, but it's another great topic that brings up a lot for people, yeah? So the word that I've gone for today is wealth, not money. Because when I speak to wealth, I'm not speaking about, oh, I'm just sat on a lot of money and the rest of my life is poor. I'm speaking to wealth, and wealth is holistic. But I am going to focus on money, okay? And I'm going to begin with a question like I began yesterday, with the sentences today. Like the question that that I want you to ask yourself, and again, I'm going to have people that are extremely clear on this. And I imagine the people that are extremely clear on this are probably the people that have got a little bit more income, or they're doing more money. And then I'll have people that have never thought about this in their life. And then that might be one of the reasons why you're not where you want to be financially, right? So the question that I'm going to ask you is, how much money are you committed to making over your lifetime? Let's switch to sex. Not for today's workshop. How much money are you committed to making over your lifetime? See, lifetime. Infinite amounts. Why does there have to be a figure? That's a catch 22. We'll speak to that, right? Scared to even think about it. Fascinating. So are your finances where you want them to be? I'd expect no. Yeah. What a question. I've never thought about that. Yeah. Never thought about it. Yeah. So you don't have to have, I want to make 3 million point. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to know, but you need to know roughly what's the arena that you're playing in, right? I know I'm going towards 9 figures, right? Not in a year. I'm not interested in building a business with 9 figures a year, because that takes a very specific type of person and a very specific level of willingness, which I don't have, right? Different income levels do require different things from us, and the willingness to have different structures in our life, right? And we've all got different levels of willingness, right? So if we're going towards millions, or we're going towards 8 figures, or we're going towards 9 figures, or we're going towards thousands, you've got to take very different actions. Very, very different actions. What you're doing today has to be drastically different. Because the way that manifestation is taught is that people are like, oh, I'm just going to kind of waddle through life and hope for the best. But hoping is the weakest form of manifestation energy. We must be clear and clean in ourselves to be moving towards what we want, right? Over the next 40 years, 4 million would be nice. In the Marbella retreat, she said 2 million in 3 years. You'll 100% be at 2 million in 3 years, Ever's got the best story. I put it in my stories a few weeks ago, about the six-toed manifestation cat that led to a 6-figure deal so far. 5 million minimum in the next 10 years. Yeah, brilliant. Billions. I mean, I've already earned more than 1 million, sure. So when I make money, since I make money, not in my own business, yeah, this is the thing. It's like, if you want to move towards 1 billion, if you want to move towards multiple millions, it's different actions. Let me bring it back a bit. But the first question of what do you want to make over your lifetime, you're casting an energetic net in terms of manifestation at all times, whether you're conscious of it or not. So I don't know how much money I'm going to have, or stress and anxiety about the lack of money that you've got right now is creating a future without money. So we fix that by casting a different energetic net. Okay, the question that I'm going to now ask is, how much money are you committed to making this year for the rest of the year? We're finishing out July, and a lot of people have got this kind of thinking of, I've only made this much this year so far, so I'm only going to make, but maybe you've not even thought about it. How much are you committed to making for the rest of the year? So Nicole said minimum close 300K this year revenue. Nicole's another one of my clients. 250 cash. I love that. 50K, 130, 50K. Cool. Anyone else? How much are you committed to making the rest of the year? 100K by the end before tax. Beautiful. I love that. Okay. 50K, 20K right now, but that feels difference between revenue and cash. Well, this is what we're going to speak to because I'm speaking to revenue right now. I'm speaking to the top number. But if you're someone that works in you work in a different way, use the numbers that make sense for you, right? I'm already at 190K sold, so I feel like it's a very safe goal, to be honest, Nicole. Yeah, Nicole started working with me at the end of last year. She was doing 100K a year, and she's now just doing just under 100K a trimester. And it's so funny because she's just breezing through it. Like it's been way too easy. It's your choice, Nicole, how hard you want to go. We've got 40K. I know we've got different currencies here, right? Some people are euros, some people are English pounds. We've got different dollars, Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, American dollar. I've committed to 250,000 revenue this year ever. Brilliant. I'd be really happy to sell 50K between now and Christmas. I have so much coming up. Just typing it. You're all good. Maggie, lovely the fact that you're here anyway. Okay. So what I do not want you guys to be doing is comparing other people's numbers because we're all in different places in our trajectory. I'm just trying to get you guys to get clarity about your own situation, right? Quick thing on comparison. Comparison is the biggest fucking waste of energy that exists in the success journey. Like if I compared myself to Yamal, obviously I want to talk about the football. He's like probably a multi-millionaire at 19, won the World Cup, like literally has like, do you know what I mean? So I obviously look like I'm super behind at my 33 years of age. But if I compare myself to, for example, my father, who didn't know what he wanted to do, and he was earning like really not a lot of money until his 50s, and literally only decided that he was going to become a Norwegian crime fiction translator in his 50s and then didn't really take off in his career at all until his 60s, I look like I'm Speedy fucking Gonzales, right? So you have to remember that it's all bollocks. Like it's literally the least interesting thing on the planet, your comparison in the time space continuum that we're in right now, where other people are. So if you're looking at the chat and people have put bigger numbers, brilliant. See that as evidence that that exists in the community space that you're in right now, right? If you notice that you've got bigger numbers and people have got smaller numbers, doesn't matter, okay? Because we're all just playing in our own lane. That's it. So I think about what I have coming in, certainty rather than thinking about what I can create. Well, that's what I'm going to talk to. I used to lose so much energy to comparison. Comparison literally kills more dreams than anything else because you just leak energy and you cannot create because your energy is looking at someone else instead of what you want, right? So the next question that I've got, and this is again specific to the number that you've thrown into the chat, right? Specific to the number that you've thrown into the chat, how much does living your ideal life for the rest of this year cost? How many of you guys know that number? Like living, paying your rent for the rest of the year. The rest of the year, by ideal lifestyle, that's a good clarifier. What I mean is maybe not like your like full end result lifestyle, even though you might want to go straight to that. But I just mean like the property that you've got now or an upgrade that you've wanted to have for a long time, the right support infrastructures, the food that you want to be eating, the level of holidays that you'd like to have, like the life that you actually want to live. It doesn't have to be the most, like you don't have to be on private jet every Tuesday, right? What I'm just saying is like a life where you feel satisfied, right? So we've got 30K plus the projects, 15 and 25K, 30K. Do we mean 40K there, not $40, right? 5K, 24, 100K, 30K. Yeah. Yeah, 40K. I was going to say, someone's living for 40 USD dollars. I'm like, um, so yes, exactly, Nicole, because you've got a team. So that's exactly what it looks like for me. For me, there's no way that I could make less than six figures and probably even multi six figures a year at this point because I pay wages, right? I calculated my ideal lifestyle, like optimal, which is not where I am now, but 15 to 25K, brilliant. 5K a month, 20K, 20K. Okay, brilliant. So what most people do with goals is they firstly pick something that's arbitrary. They've not really got anything emotional behind it. right? So it's like, oh, I'm going to make this goal, and then it doesn't really feel like there's anything at stake. But when we know the number of our optimal lifestyle, right? And then we've got to add a bit more, okay? Because another mistake that people make is they set a goal for what they need to live from, right? So let's say you need 30 grand for the rest of the year to live well, then you set your goal as 30 grand. You've got no margin forever. Like you fuck up on any of the strategy that you do, which you will, by the way. Welcome to life. I've got a whole section today on failure, okay? Because we need to have a conversation about it, right? You have a small margin of error. There's a small error there, right? Now you're going to have a major issue because you can't afford the things that are part of that lifestyle. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, on top of this, how much do you guys want to save this year? That's another question. Gemma's put mine is 25k lifestyle, the uni. Yeah, I know you're doing, yeah, 100% love that. Okay, cash in monthly is about 30k. I need to work on profit because it's hard to pay myself some months. Yeah, that's normal sometimes, Nicole. Um, I really feel these numbers in my heart, but I can also see the vision behind. That's beautiful. I want 50k saved this year. I'm about halfway there. Beautiful. Okay. At least 10k. Cool. 50k saved, 10k. Okay, now redo. I would like to do 15k to join the uni. Beautiful. Now redo your numbers. Okay. So optimal lifestyle, savings, plus a buffer. How much do you need to make for the rest of this year? Like genuinely put that in the chat. 80k, brilliant. 100k, yeah. So Eva, we're having a maths class today. Um, so we've got how much does your optimal lifestyle cost from now to the end of the year? How much would you like to save this year? And a buffer. So 50k, 150k, paying myself about 70k remaining this year, 110k, beautiful. My initial number gave me 10k buffer. Love that, Abby. I think it's always helpful to give yourself a buffer. I always look like I land my manifestations because I give myself massive buffers. So you can't really tell when I fuck up, which I do. 45k, hadn't thought about saving. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting, Gemma? Well, anything about 1k a month would be already great. Okay, brilliant. Amazing. Optimal 30k plus project, 100k save up and bank account. Okay. And Daniela, we've already done your goal in the chat in our VIP conversation. So you're at about 130, right, for the year. So that's your goal for the year. Like that's your goal for the year, right? That's got to be your commitment. And it's really, really 70k, Jasmine. It's really, really, really important to know these numbers. Because what do people do when they don't know these numbers? Gracie already started to speak to this, right? What she was saying, she was like, well, what I do is I tend to spiral about the lack of what I've got and I get stuck there. That's what people do. Oh, I can't afford that. I can't do this, right? What you're basically saying to the universe is, I am powerless over money, right? And you're not powerless over money. We are in control of money, right? Now, there will be moments where you lose and ups and downs, and that there's a normal level in that, right? Now, what I want you guys to hear, I'm just going to read Abby's. It's mad because these figures are way beyond anything I've dreamed of or come close to, but it now feels more real in my, yeah, but you've been doing so much work as well in home, haven't you, Abby, and like with your offers and putting stuff up. So it makes sense that it's feeling more real and natural, okay? So what I want you to hear in what I said, there's a couple of things that I want to say, okay? What I want you to hear is in the language that I used initially, what I said and the question that I said was, what are you committed to making this year? What are you committed to making in your lifetime? Because I've very often taught goals, I've very often taught desires, and I very often taught from a manifestation lens. All of those things are true, they're not wrong. But the problem is there is a subtle shadow pattern when it comes to some people in terms of the manifestation context. And because we're talking about the universe, They put way more weight on the universe and not enough responsibility on self. And so language is really important, right? The way we say things, the words that we use, right, are really important. So when you say, right, I am committed to making X amount of money this year, we are now starting to create a shift. We're starting to create a shift because we're not saying, oh, I hope I can generate 150K. We're not saying, oh, I hope I can generate 15K. We're not saying, oh, I hope the universe will bless me with my abundance. So many people are stuck in that trap and they never manifest anything. You are saying, I am committed, right, to 150K this year. I'm committed to 2 million in the next 3 years. I am committed to 9 figures. Because the second that you create commitment, subconsciously, mind is like, I'm responsible for creating those numbers. So what you start to have are ideas that are in alignment with where you want to go instead of where you are. Okay, I'm going to say this in many different angles so we get it. Okay. If we don't ask ourselves where we are moving to. So let me give you an example. When I began, I was working 4 jobs, right? And it was hard. Like it's hard to work 4 jobs. It's not like and there were jobs in different locations, and some of the jobs were digital and some of the jobs were in other people's houses, right? And I was probably making around, I don't know, at some points, like, I was in the hundreds, not thousands. I just moved to Spain, right? I had no business experience. I had no fucking clue what I was doing. And I made a choice. I made a commitment, and I want you to hear this. And I was like, I'm going to learn how to make 1 million. And when I made that commitment and when I made that choice, I couldn't see beyond 1 million at that point. Like anything beyond that for me was just alien land. Like I just couldn't connect to it. It was so far from my reality that there was just nothing for me existed after that 1 million. And the 1 million for me felt like the pinnacle of life. Like I couldn't even visualize more money than that, right? And I made a commitment. And that required me to do something differently. So what do I mean by that? I mean that at that point I was working 4 jobs, and the jobs were paying like 10 euros an hour teaching English. I was teaching English on a digital platform called Dada, and I had to do fucking puppet shows, and I wasn't good at it. They rated you, and I was like, this is just like, ugh, what is my life? I was doing workshops for yoga. Like there was just I was even fucking posing for life drawing because they paid you 40 euros. Like I was posing in my knickers to be drawn by life drawers. I don't know what you even call it, right? Because it was 40 euros that I did not have. Okay, that's where I began. I've got the photos somewhere. I'll find them for you guys and I'll drop it in the WhatsApp group. Try and have ones that are a little bit more modest because I don't do that anymore. But I have done it, right? So when I made the commitment of I'm going to make 1 million in the fastest time possible, right, with no business experience, I had to make some decisions. And what decisions did I have to make? Things had to go. If I was filling my time every single day, running around the world like a motherfucking lunatic, right, getting paid 40 euros the hour, how long would it take me to make 1 million? 20 years? I didn't have 20 years. I wanted to live in the home that I wanted to live in then. I wanted to buy organic vegetables without stress then. I wanted to be able to take holidays then. I wanted to have nice clothes then. So the commitment to the money changed the behavior. And the knowing what the money would bring me, right, gave me the emotional readiness to do things that weren't comfortable. So what I want from you guys today, and I'm going to fucking push you to this, right? If you so choose, you can choose to not, you can choose to ignore this and do it, your way. I'm sharing one way. And there are many people in the world. But I can tell you that I have not met anyone that has accidentally, right, scaled a company. You can leave today and go, that was cute, thanks, Hannah. Or you can leave today and go, I'm committed to making that amount of money. Which means I'm committed to taking different actions, which means I'm committed to becoming a different type of person. Still yourself, it'll probably be more yourself, the limited version of yourself that you've experienced until now. I'm committed to figuring out problems that I've never had because I've never played at that level. I'm committed to overcoming myself again and again and again. I'm committed to being misunderstood. I'm committed to the pressure. I'm committed to the failure that I may experience. You have to make a decision because you have to take your actions from where you want to go, not where you are. If I'd kept taking financial actions from where I was, I'd still be there. And so now we're starting to realize is that wealthy people aren't just a born special breed of wealthy people that are more worthy and better. That's a fucking load of bollocks. There are people that take actions, the right actions, because they know where they're going and they don't take actions from where they are. That's the big fucking secret. That's how simple it is. That is literally, and I'm going to go into more nuance of this, but the overview is that is how simple it is. Now, the reality is that we all have different starting points. If you're born into a family with a high financial IQ, you're born into parents that are investors that teach you how to invest, make smart money plays, people that have built businesses, right? You've got an advantage. But if you weren't born into that, who's responsible for creating the advantage? You fucking are. You can't say, oh, but I didn't get an education as a child and you're 40 fucking 3. Do you know what I mean? Right? So some things, yes, they're not fair. But if you're upset about how they're not fair, you're going to stay in the same place. It's not going to take you anywhere. It's like complaining about your current circumstances. Like, I get it. Sometimes things are hard, but what are you going to do about it? Right? So the hard thing with seeing it this simple is that, and we're going to do some tasks around this, is you're going to really, really, really see where you've been making decisions and actions that there's no way that they can take you to the result that you want, but that's going to set you free, right? So the reason that we're getting this committed thing, just to repeat this, is so you stop recreating your past. Today, in this conversation, you've got the opportunity to create a new financial reality. You've got an opportunity to create a new financial reality for yourself. And that new financial reality for yourself is completely unrelated to whatever you've experienced to this point, right? Now, we used a specific number that was relevant for you because a lot of people go, oh, I don't need money or da-da-da-da-da and all of these things, when actually they're not allowing themselves to have what they want. They're not having the holidays. They're not living in the homes that they want. They're not going out for the meals that they want. So they're saying simultaneously, right? Oh, I don't need the money. It's not so important. And simultaneously, they're sacrificing experiences, things, right? That actually they want. So today, for some of you, the conversation that you've got to have with yourself is money is more important than I've been letting on. And it is actually a priority. And therefore, I do need to educate myself and take responsibility for it. Because money, IQ and EQ, IQ is like investment, stuff like that. That IQ is the emotional work around money, which we'll speak about too, right? If you weren't given it growing up, right, then you're gonna have to get it now. And so the best financial affirmation I've heard in my life, right? The best financial affirmation I've heard in my life is money is not optional. Like that is like do you know what I mean? Like the like the, you know, It's not optional, right? Because we create these fucking insane stories in our head. Oh, but if money didn't exist, and blah, 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 poor me. And it does, though. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to single-handedly go out and change the world's economy, be my guest. But that is not what I'm choosing to put my energy into, right? My subconscious is saying work 24/7. I'm going to speak to that. I love the fact that you said that. And you will make what you want negatively. Yeah, that's not the way either. So I need to change the mindset of how I make exactly 100%. And it doesn't need to be me only doing it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Because does more effort create more money? It can do sometimes, but it's got to be strategic effort, right? So let's go into more examples about this. So I've just given you the example of me starting, right? Let's say some of you guys, I'm going to do three examples so you can see this and you can see how, because here's the thing as well, I feel like the fucking spiritual community teaching about wealth and business has become really wet and they're all lying to you about what they've actually done to create the wealth that they've created. Like building quantum leaps, building huge amounts of wealth, it does take a huge amount of effort, but maybe not in the way that you've done it before. Like it's not I walked into the park or I watched one manifestation meditation video and the skies opened. Like that's just there's always going to be a level of reps and mastery, and there's always going to be a level of like you're going to have to face problems that you wouldn't have faced before, right? But just because you work harder doesn't mean that you make more money, right? So let's say an example is that you make just enough to cover bills, but you don't get to pay for the holidays, the food, the coaching, even maybe that you want to. And let's say you're a teacher, right? Teaching, I don't know how much teaching pays, but my mum was a university lecturer. My dad was a teacher until he was 50. He taught TEFL, and TEFL teaches how to teach English as a foreign language. And it's a lot of hours, right? So my parents worked a lot when I grew up. I saw my parents work a lot, right? So let's say as a teacher, if you put more hours in, it's going to pay the same, whether it's 30K, 50K, whatever that contract is, right? So if you want to make more money, obviously you're going to have to take different actions because you're in a kind of band that is capped, right? And so if we're in a career where we're going to, like, for example, like a career which is capped, where you could work every hour of the day and not make a penny more, you're going to feel limited and it's going to be difficult and you're going to have to think out of the box, right? Whereas simultaneously, you've got someone who's like, I want to make six figures this year, and they put together a 25K product and they sell four spots, they've just made 100K. And so the fact that they sold 25K offers for 100K, they're working significantly less, right? But they've made, significantly at least double more money. So we have to really see with more money, it's really not about hours spent. It's about right action. Okay? But the problem with right action is, and some of you guys might be thinking this, oh yeah, but Hannah, it's not easy to sell a 25K product. That's a belief system, right? Selling a 25K product may bring up lots of your shit. Like, who am I to do this? What if it da? I don't know how to market. You might have to learn, right? A whole plethora, right, of skills, marketing skills. You might have to learn how to do Instagram reels. You might have to learn how to do ads, right? And all of those things are new or uncomfortable. So even though making 100K in this context with four spots sold at 25K, even though on surface it is easier, there is less to do because the action is clear and it's precise, a lot of people will avoid simple paths like this because they're uncomfortable. And then they'll get stuck in busy work. And there are so many examples of this. How many of you guys, and I want to see this in the chat, keep getting lost in busy work? You're wasting so much time working because you feel guilty if you're not working. But when you actually look at the actions that you're taking, and that's something you can do in a journal before bed. What were the actions that I took? Are these actions in alignment, right, to the results that I want to be getting, that financial commitment that I've made? If it's a no, then there's no more of doing those actions are going to get you the results, right? Yes. Yes, me. Yes. I changed my direction completely after completing my master's degree because I realized it won't get me where I want to be. Yeah. This is the way forward. Yeah. So me, and it's ironic because I can help my clients, but not me. Yeah. So maybe you need to be put into a place that's, well, we'll talk about that in a second. Yes. Me today, when I wanted to publish my 8K program, and I thought, oh, actually, I think I'm not a coach. Exactly. Daniela's resistance is my favorite, and it's the funniest because then she does always do it and then she sells it. I used to be, but not as much anymore. Thank you, Hannah. I feel great when I email clients quoting them for a weekend retreat with me. I don't feel the need to do loads if I'm living from this level. Yeah, this is the thing. Like, you're super clear on what you're making this year and you're super committed to it. The actions that are appropriate are actually much less than we were doing before sometimes. And that in itself can be hugely anxiety provoking, like hugely anxiety provoking, because we can think, oh, it's not enough. And so then we go do all of the old things, get distracted from what we actually need to be doing to get the results, right? So, example two, right, of this. When I began the business, I didn't know what I was doing. Remember, I decided I'm going to make a million. Woo, look at Hannah, she's going to make a million. I had no fucking clue how, right? And so I started looking around and thinking, well, what are other people doing? And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to hire a coach. And I put together a one-to-one program, and that was a great idea. It was very basic coaching, but it was a beginning. And she was like, well, you could do women's circles. So I started doing women's circles, and I put together this women's circle. And I do it with this other lady, and this other lady is living in Malaga, and she does not contribute. That's when I had to really learn about collaborations, which has had to be something I've had to learn many times, apparently, according to me, because I keep forgetting. I don't forget anymore. But she didn't bring anyone. And I got 13 people. And at the end of this women's circle, which took me 3 weeks to market, all of the preparation, the end of the women's circle, it wouldn't have taken me this long now because I'm way more seasoned and experienced, but at that time, that's how long it took me. I made 110 euros. And I remember getting to the end of that month and I was like, if I continue making 110 euros, right? I don't afford food. Like that's, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just completely unviable. And so I really sat myself down, and instead of going, oh, only this is possible, right? Whatever band of frequency you're in, this is the only thing that's possible. I was like, well, what do I want to make? And I was very clear, I'm going towards a million. I'm going to become a millionaire, right? I was super duper clear, right? And I was like, okay, well, what's my first target? What am I committed to making? I was like, okay, I'm going to do high ticket, which for me at the time, high ticket was 3K. I do not consider 3K high ticket anymore, right? I launched a 3-month program in which I invested my savings, by the way, before I'd got any results. I paid 800 euros for a website. That felt like a lot of money because I didn't have a lot of money. I invested in marketers. I invested in all of this stuff. And then I made 10 sales. So less than the sales that I made for the women's circle. I made 13 for the women's circle and I made 10 for the 3K program. And I made 30,000. And I remember my mind being like, what the actual fuck? Like, how is this possible? Because selling these 3K products had actually been easier than getting people to commit to a women's circle. Because it was a completely different type of person that I was speaking to. Right? And so the problem is when we use our past and we keep moving from our past, I would have only kept creating these women's circles. And I'd be like, oh, I just need to get more people in the women's circles. I just need to, I don't know what I would have fucking done. But it was the shifting to actually, that is not it. I'm going a different place. I'm committed to a different level of financial goal, that I completely let go of that business model, didn't do any more women's circles unless it was to launch other products in the future, which was very, very strategically done. That took me to 30K. I then repeated the launch, had another 30K launch, had another 30K launch. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to hire another coach. I'd hired quite a few people at this point. And then I had a 250,000 launch. I was not better than Hannah that was doing the women's circles. I was not a better human being, right? I was just super duper clear and committed. Sometimes I have conversations with people and I'm like, you're like, they tell me what they're doing strategically and they're like, I'm finding, I'm like, they're like, I'm like, none of that's going to make you money. And sometimes people find that really hard to hear. I'm like, you need a financial strategy, right? So can you see the difference of that? The effort was the same running these women's circles as having a 3K program and selling that. The effort was the same, but the financial result was extraordinarily different, right? That's what thinking from the goal gives you. Yeah. Now, the final example is for those of you that are already making good money, like already making good money. Who here is already making good money? I'm curious. Like good money. I know some of you guys are making good money because I know some of you guys. By the way, just here drinking my bottle of sparkling water. This is not an alcoholic beverage. I don't drink alcohol. I know some of you guys do, and there's not an issue with that, but I personally do not. Hmm. Love sparkling water. I feel like if I had an addiction, it would be sparkling water. Was We've got people. Nicole, getting there. Nicole, you're making good money. Your head is just not caught up to it. You've done like, I don't know, you're gonna have 250,000 a year in cash. You're making good money, darling. Do you know what I mean? I guess I'm making good money. Yes, exactly. You are, Ever. Okay. It's interesting that I know for a fact there are people here making good money and people that don't want to say they're making good money, right? Some of you are making good money, right? It depends on the definition of good money. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you're making good money, it doesn't mean that you don't want to make more. You're making a satisfying amount to cover all of your needs, more than that in my visualizations I am, right? So some of you guys are making good money. Let's take Nicole. You're making 250,000 a year. Yeah, let's say. And you want to make 1 million. So it's exactly, this is the thing that people find hard. Like at the beginning, this is again one of the things that people might not like. At the beginning, it's much fucking easier because like at the beginning, I was like, I will invest and I have nothing, and then I will continue to have nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like I just wasn't that scared of loss. Do you know what I mean? Because I already had a fucking nothing, you know, like I was already working my ass off. There wasn't really much in the bank. Like I just was like, that's the beauty of a clean slate. I was naive. I hadn't failed that much yet. I hadn't had that many experiences. I hadn't seen the flip side yet. I was like, some people, by the way, keep themselves at zero because they're scared of having something to lose. That'll be some of you here, right? But like, yeah, but I didn't feel that much fear at the beginning, right? And then I had money and I wanted to make more money, right? And taking risks and playing bigger level, bigger moves became so much more frightening because I'm really fucking comfortable in my life. Like I love my life. All areas of my life are top fucking dog. Do you know what I mean? Like I do not want to lose shit. And yet I must let things go to move to the next level. And that sucks ass. And it is hard and it is painful and it is frightening. So even when you're making a lot of money, let's say you're doing 250,000 a year, to get to that million a year, you might have to change things. You're going to have to cut things. You're going to still have to change behaviors. There might be prices that have to go up, right? There might be increased boundaries, right? At the beginning, for example, there were things that I would do that I don't do now. Now we've got the support coaches back because I do not have the space and time to talk to every single person that comes to a free event. I used to. I like doing it. I like the feeling of knowing everyone. I like the feeling of being like super fucking involved, right? So that had to go, right? Because the actions had to change. So every financial level requires a new set of actions. How would you know the set of actions? You have to think from the financial level that you are going to, not where you're at. And this is a relevant law, right? Whether you're beginning, whether you've been in business for years, whether you're seasoned as fuck, whether you've done 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures. The next level version of you will require you to cut what the past version of you did and does. And that will be uncomfortable for you. And sometimes it will be uncomfortable for those around you. So when we talk about increased finances, it's this stuff that's hard. It's this stuff. It's not the strategy. We've got AI. Do you know what I mean? There's books you can read. The Zen Millionaire book. He's literally written out 100 ways to make money in his book. There are so many ways that are available to you. But so often we're so busy looking at our current circumstances that we're literally missing the 75. Like, there are dog Instagrams where it's just reels of dogs going woof woof. I fucking love a dog. Please don't think this is dog hating. I've got two dogs. They're the loves of my life with Craig, right? Um, and they're making like 1 million a month. There is, do you know the biggest YouTube channel is that fucking guy that comes out of the toilet? What's his name? Skippity toilet. Do you know what I mean? Who knows what I mean? Yeah, Anna says I'm feeling triggered. Yeah, good. What's the skippity toilet guy? Do you guys know what I mean? Someone Googles. I think his name is Skippity Toilet. It's a cartoon on YouTube, and he just pops out the toilet and he says wild things. This guy makes multiple millions a month from a toilet cartoon. I'm gonna. Do you know what I mean? Someone's put, I have younger siblings. Do they watch Skippity Toilet, whatever the fuck his name is? Yeah, we've got a nod, right? Like, there are so many ways to make money. So why is everyone not doing it? It's our bullshit. It's our patterns. It's our stuff. That's the hard thing, right? So I'm not interested in these types of creations. I'm not saying that you have to go become a Skibbity Toilet fan. Do you know what I mean? That's not part of the curriculum. You can cut that. Right? But it's helpful to know that it exists. There's a woman on OnlyFans that sold her farts in a jar. I'm bringing you all these examples, and she makes 200 fucking K a year. Her farts. And you're worried that your offer isn't good enough. Do you think that your offer is more valuable than a fart in a jar? I would hope so. I think you've got more to bring to the table. Do you know what I mean? Right? So it's all of the stuff that we've got around money. But the first thing that you've got to come to is, what are you committed to making this year? But what's going to happen the second that you commit? Who here feels like they're committed? People are sick. I know. I feel like, who's buying the fart in the jar? That's the question that I've got. Like, who's like, oh, this feels like a really good purchase for me? Which also shows people spend money on all sorts, right? I'm committed, but I'm terrified. Yeah. Why do I get so angry with these types of things people they pay for? I don't know, because maybe you've got something about you should put money in good places. We're also opinionated about how people should spend their money. But really, if someone wants to buy a fart in the jar, it doesn't impact you in any way. Still the economy. Money's moving. It's good that money moves, right? I might not buy it. You probably wouldn't buy it. I don't know. I don't think any of my clients would buy a fart in a jar, right? But it's not a problem that it's sold. People, absolutely not. People pay fortunes for pics of people's feet. Yeah. When I was in Australia, there were many girls that would do that. This is the best thing I've heard today. I will never question my offers again. Committed but so scared. Yeah, having to explain to my daughter why I'm laughing. Oh, yeah, good luck with that explanation to your daughter. Opportunities will present themselves. That still, yes, opportunities will present themselves, but I want you to take the commitment, because the commitment's going to drive the action. I'm committed this year. I'm committed, but I'm terrified. I want to hear your commitment. I can't believe that you just influenced me to check out Skippity Toilet. You are welcome. Those are minutes of your life you will never get back. I'm more committed and more scared than I've ever been. Good feeling. So I'm going to talk about the process that some of you guys are entering right now as you commit. It's called the terror barrier. That's what the bonus session next Tuesday will be on, same time, 6 p.m., right? We're going to go through it because it's one of the processes that when I understood, it's unlocked the most for me, and my willingness to be in the fear, right? Some of you guys, even the idea of committing is bringing up stuff. I don't want to feel pressure. Oh, but goes against this. I've committed before and I've failed. That's all of your stuff coming up, and that's the exact reason that you don't have what you want yet, right? I'm committed to taking different actions. Beautiful. Because here's the thing, right? I'm committed and I'm very triggered. I love it. I'm committed. I'm very triggered. Okay, that's brilliant. Money is not an option. Yeah, money is not an option. Money is not an option. And if you want to have an extraordinary life, you need to be able to pay for things. Now, I'm not telling you all out to go out and become billionaires because becoming, some of you might want to, and you feel that internal pull and drive. I don't know. But for a lot of people, that's unnecessary. It's not going to change much being a multimillionaire and a billionaire. Do you know what I mean? Like your quality of life is still going to be extraordinary and you're still going to have a high level of safety. Some of you guys might feel that pull. And I believe we've got different soul blueprints, which I'll speak to tomorrow, right? But I'm asking you to commit to optimal lifestyle, savings, and a little bit of a buffer. Like, do you know what I mean? And some of you can go higher. Fiona said, how do you get rid of the fear of success? So I've multiple answers to this question. I'm going to answer this here actually. And I've got a couple more things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about failure. We're going to go over. We've just given up with times. I don't know. I was going to apologize, but I was like, you're getting bonus free time. So I don't know if I need to apologize. There's two perspectives that I'm going to give you, Fiona, and both of them are extremely contradictory. So I'm going to sound like two different people. The first thing is like, why do you need to get rid of the fear? Thank you. Why do you need to get rid of the fear? I think we have this idea of like, when I've got rid of the fear or when it doesn't feel bad, then I'll move into it. But the truth is, and we were talking about this, I'm in a group, a coaching group at the moment, we are talking about this morning, and one of the girls was like, well, I don't want to force it. We've set goals and we're moving towards them. And just thinking about where I've got a plug socket. I might have to get my extension lead in 1 second, right? Yeah, good question. How do I move through the fear? Yeah, exactly. You're getting at what I'm saying. So, like, sorry, someone was saying, she'd set a goal and the goal ends in 3 days. And it's what she would usually make in 3 months. And the lady that's coaching us, she goes, well, you've got to take all of the actions that you would do in 3 months and do them in 3 days. And she goes, oh, I don't want to force things. And I think there's been so much content, and I'm a big like look after your body, look after your nervous system, understand the biology of your body, don't burn yourself out. Like I'm not burnt out, right? And I talk about that a lot, but we've flipped to the other side that we're so frightened of pushing ourselves for a short period of time that we miss our goals because we're like, I don't want to go hard. And we've used this as an excuse, right? I don't want to feel fear. I don't want to feel pressure. And so, what we've got to understand is that if we're going for a new financial level that we've never gone for before, you are going to feel scared. You're going to have stuff come up, right? And so, the first thing with moving through the fear is understanding that thoughts make it worse. But if you go to the body and you're just with the sensation, fear is just a feeling. And if you can really be with fear, it's like, bye, Abby, darling. You can, if you really, really be with fear, you'll feel it's just a pit in your stomach, or it's just tension in your chest, or it's just it. And if you can, this, I do lots and lots of body work with people. In all of our groups and containers, and we do lots of this work. So you can separate the story in the mind to the felt sensation in the body. And when we can be with the felt sensation in the body without needing to push it away, we realize that getting rid of fear isn't a big thing. I just did an event in Malaga, Marbella. I was so scared before. I had 20 something clients flying out. I've never had that. We'd rented this huge villa in this very luxurious area. I'd never had that. We had to have a whole in-house catering team to feed everyone. I'd never done that before. We arrived, the aircon didn't work. There was just so many problems when we stepped into the villa. And uh, not letting the AI in. And what I've learned and what I say to myself, it's like, what we're talking about with the football, it's the emotional regulation in that moment. Those footballers with the Argentinian team, even though the Argentinian team were being quite aggressive, right? The ability to keep calm that you've got is you don't make it wrong. So the aircon wasn't working. I was scared. I felt the pit in my stomach. I didn't sleep properly. Didn't sleep probably more than 5 hours every single night. I'm the sole facilitator in all of the things that I do because I'm very probably anal about the quality of the work. And a lot of people wouldn't do it because they're scared of feeling the pressure. One of my favorite affirmations is, I'm not that fucking fragile. But something else that I do, and the reason that people burn out is because they live in that state of pressure. So I did that retreat week where I sleep a lot, guys, right? Like I'm like a fucking baby. Do you know what I mean? Put me anywhere and I fall asleep, you know? Um, but I went really hard for 2 weeks. So the event, I was anxious. Vanessa's put, and it was still amazing. Thank you. Bye, Fiona. So I worked really hard for that week. And the week after, we did a sales thing and we did another 6 figure in income. So I knew for 2 weeks, it was maybe about 3 months, not 3 months, 1 month total. I knew that I had to be like, I knew that I had to be in my mastery zone. I knew that I had to deliver. I knew that I had to make my sales because obviously things cost money. But guess what I did the week after that? I didn't post on social media. I didn't market. Oh no, can you not hear? Can you all hear? Oh yeah. I didn't post on social media. I didn't market. I didn't do any of those things. And it was really conscious because I made a decision to go hard for a month to get the result. And then there was a rest. So even if you look at how I teach in the global uni, you'll see that there's time periods where I'm teaching and there's time periods where I have no calls at all. And if you watch me on social media, there'll be times that I'm super on, and then there's times that I won't post a single post a week. And I'm very cyclical and I'm very seasonal because those recovery moments, right, is what allows me to go harder, faster. And it really helps my tolerance for those moments of when I'm going for that big goal and it is requiring bandwidth because it is. And so we've got to be, it's funny when people are scared of burning out. And when people are scared of going hard, what tends to happen is that you're kind of on all of the time and you burn out more. Because instead of being like, I'm going full all in these dates and I'm getting this result and I'm committed to this result, even if I've got to stay up late, even if I've got to push my edges, even if I've got to, you're like, I'm making this amount of money in this amount of time, right? What happens is that you never switch off. You're on all of the time. You don't feel good and you burn yourself and you burn your battery out and you don't get the result. And that's how a lot of people are building businesses instead of focused, committed pushes. I'm scared that this thing's going to go 1 minute. Hearing me bang around. Did you hear all the bangs? That's like trying to get it out of the wires. I'm like, oh no. So Nicole's put here, yeah. So my call schedule right now is such a bottleneck. And when I was talking about like cutting things for the next level, Nicole, that's what I was talking about. When Nicole, she's got company and she just does so much of the work in the company. And it's like, yeah, of course you're the bottleneck. So for that next level, that you have to really look at that. This kind of feels like where I am right now, working at a much slower rate, 20%, but because of what was coming of post summer, recharging my battery so that I can be ready for the last trimester. Yeah. But you've got to make choices because if you're making a choice, and this is where you're really intentional and you're like, this is my rest cycle, that has a place in business. This is my system cycle. This is my learn a new skill cycle. This is my back end cycle. This is my go cycle. But if you keep having back end cycles and you don't have goal cycles, then we have to look at your fear of going. Do you know what I mean? But no one has built anything ever if they didn't go all in. And so this gently marketing that's being like, I know these women. That's not how they fucking built it. They're not telling you the truth, right? Feminine energy is really, really important. But the women that are selling feminine energy have a fucking baller team and baller systems. And when they need to go, they fucking go like an athlete, right? And so we've been talking about top performance results. It's the same in money, right? It's like you look at athletes, the best athletes aren't the athletes that burn their bodies to the ground. They're the athletes that when they need to train, they train. And when they need to perform on the pitch, they perform on the pitch. And when there's space and time to rest, they rest, right? Like that's how athletes perform. If not, there are injuries, there are issues, there are problems. It's literally the same in business. So not committing to how much money you're making, not committing to clear seasons and cycles in your life, right? It's keeping you without the results that you want, but also burning out because there's no clarity in your schedule. There's no clarity in your time. There's no clarity. And you're taking actions from your present moment, meaning that you just get stuck in the same instead of taking actions from where you're going. It is this simple. Like it is this simple. And if you don't use deadlines, I did an audio in the pre-work about deadlines. If you don't use deadlines, don't be surprised when you never get there. This is why with all of our, it's not why, it's part of our marketing as well, because we market, right? Like I'm a company, I market my services. Are you shocked? Like why with you guys and with our clients, we have bonuses and we have deadlines because my whole marketing calendar is pretty much organized before the year begins. That's how I can say to you, I'm selling the global uni now. Because in August, do you know what I'm doing? Fucking resting. It's my birthday. We've got classes on, we've got other things on, but it's like I'm not doing this. I'm not teaching live, like back to back to back, you know, serve my clients, but it's a much gentler energy, right? So that's already in my calendar, that's already in my schedule. So I'm like the global, and I know in September we're selling the certification, so that's what I'm going to be doing. And those deadlines keep me clear and focused, my team clear and focused, and my clients clear and focused. They know when the deal is, when the deadline is, right? And it just keeps the fucking boat working, the ship shipping. I don't know what I want to say. There's some form of metaphor and analogy I want to use, but my brain isn't giving it to me. So you got that, right? Final thing on this, that's actually two more things that I want to say. The final thing on the thinking from the action. So we've talked about how much you want to make this year, how much you want to make in a lifetime, right? The reason that I ask this is that money, yes, people that make money move fast, and that's important. People that build long-term generational wealth know how to make really, really slow, patient plays, right? So what am I doing as I'm thinking about 9 figures over a lifetime? So I'm building digital assets, I'm selling digital assets, I'm mastering a real lane, right? And I'm doing a lot of energy into what I'm building right now. You guys may have seen me in ads, you may have seen it's all very intentional. But simultaneously, and I saw a great post on this week, this lady called Becca Pike, I think her name is, she made 1 million in a day. Sounds really glam, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, she made 1 million in a day. Businesses, when they get to a certain point, making 1 million a day, it's amazing, it's brilliant, right? But it's very possible. It's not this magical miracle, yeah? And so she did a post, which I think was so insightful on what she did with that million. Most people, when they've got poor money mindset, they're like, I'm going to have 1 million, I'm just going to hold it and I'm not going to spend anything and I'm going to be anxious, right? Got to have it in savings. You looked at how she split that million. So the first thing was like, yes, thank you. Exactly. Like the first part was like team bonuses. The second part was like long-term investments. Then there was a chunk in silver because silver's gone down in price right now and it's looking like it could have a, I don't know, I'm not giving financial advice for you guys and I'm not liable to any financial advice I give you for anything on that, right? But like lots of people are investing in silver right now because it's going down, right? So there's, and then she put like a big lump sum into her ads budget, right? At the end of the million, guess how much there was? Bye, Vanessa. She is a smart fucking lady and she's building generational wealth. And so our fear of moving money and getting our money to work for us and do things with money because we don't know what we're building, she's clear. She knows that she's building generational wealth, right? Becca Pike, Tashi, something like that. You know that I'm really shite with names, so I could be wrong. Um, something like that. And I'm even worse spelling them because I'm very severely dyslexic, actually diagnosed as very severely dyslexic. So do you see what I'm saying, right? She's clear, she's building, she's got that. She's asked herself, what's the wealth that I want to create over a lifetime? Where am I putting that money? Now, you guys aren't going to fix all of these things and do all of these things today. Becca Pike, thank you, Daniela. But this is at least giving you an idea. It's shifting you. It's getting you to think from a different place, right? So I've got big financial goals for this year, but I'm not in this like, oh, what I'm going to do with this. Um, I'll speak to that as well. What am I going to do with this money that I build from the business this year, right? There's different stages of wealth. You have to create a cash monkey first, and then you do long-term plays. And some people have more resistance around cash monkey stage, and some people have more resistance around the long-term investment stage. Some people have resistance around it all. So, um, but do you see what I'm saying? How strategic she is. And that's how I am with money now. And I didn't used to be like that with money. I used to be like, oh my God, I'm going to have this and I want to keep it. And then I'd be anxious and then I would lose it and then I'd get a bill because my vibration was, I want to keep it. And so it would always leave. And I don't feel that emotional around money anymore. I feel very, very practical because I know where I'm heading and I'm making decisions from there. Still feel fear, by the way, and pressure. I'm alive as a human being. This is triggering me because I know a lot about investing, but I have to make more cash. You're in cash monkey stage. And that's why I stuck at spending. I want to have nice clothes, but I don't want to spend money for it because I want to invest it. Okay, I've got to work on this one. Yeah. So then you need to make more cash. Like I know it sounds so simple, but it's like that's your highest priority. And so now you're like, I'm committed to making this amount of money. And I need to align actions with that. That's the real thing for you. Yeah. Okay, so the truth is, and this is the thing that's going to piss people off even more, even though maybe I've pissed off a lot of you guys already in a delightful way. Maybe for some of you not in a delightful way, maybe for some of you in a delightful way, right? The world that we live in right now, you have access to money training. You have access to coaches. There are so many coaches. You have access to world-class coaches. You have access to AI. There is information available now that was not available 50 years ago, like the Rockefellers, what they do to build generational wealth. You can find that on YouTube now, right? Rockefellers, what's their name? Is that their name? It's not. Have I mixed two family names? The really big family, fuck knows, right? That's on YouTube. There are people selling those plans. They exist, right? And so the question isn't, is it possible? Actually, the question isn't, is it possible for you? The question isn't, is there a reality where this happens? The question actually is, are you willing? That's the question. Are you willing? Are you willing to do what it takes? Which isn't what you think, which is, I sleep, I exercise, I haven't burnt my life to the ground. So people think that's what it takes, right? But are you willing to overcome yourself? That's what it takes. Are you willing to invest? Are you willing to put yourself in the right places? Are you willing to go out and sell? Because investing is the fucking basic bitch standard. That's not what's going to build it. You need that. You actually need that. People don't like to say that, but you do need to invest. You do need to learn. You do need to be around mentors and correct community. But then you've got to go out and sell. You've got to call yourself out. You've got to practice awareness. You've got to bring all this stuff home. You've got to live this work. Right? Are you willing? So many people live lives trying to avoid suffering and create lives filled with way more suffering because they're trying to avoid it. They're trying to avoid discomfort. So they never really go for the opportunities, which leads to not having money, which leads to more discomfort. They're trying to avoid suffering in relationships. So they don't get into a relationship. They don't put their heart on the line. And so they end up alone, and that hurts up a lot more. The work that we do subconsciously to protect ourselves and not put ourselves out there and not make commitments and not make decisions, it feels like the safe option, but it hurts you way more in the long run. Way more in the long run. And so if we get comfortable with just feeling the emotions in the present moment, we realize there's nothing actually to avoid, and we become so much braver and courageous. Tashi says, I'm so grateful for you in this week. It's really lit another fire under me and given me so much inspiration. You're so welcome, Tashi. Right? Tashi is an example of someone who's found a way. Tashi is single mumming, not an ideal financial situation when she joined, still got things on extremely long payment plans so she could do it. Made her first, grand sale. Got it done. A lot of people wouldn't have had the fucking, I don't want to use the word bollocks because ovaries, wouldn't have had the ovaries to make the decisions that you've made, Tashi. So congratulations. And she keeps showing up, right? So what's the solution? I'm going to whip this, I'm going to bring this to an end-ish, okay? So what order do I do this in? Let's talk about failure, and then we're going to talk about the global uni. No, I'm going to talk about global uni really quickly, and then I'm going to talk about failure so we can stay there and we can really talk about failure, because this is one that people are super frightened of. And this is one teachers are scared to speak to because they want to pretend that failure doesn't exist. So people make the move, but failure does exist, right? So I'm going to speak to failure last, and I'm going to leave you there. Global uni, we've had questions. So we threw that into the chat. I teach relationships, but I also teach practical money pathways. So literally everything that I've done to build multiple seven figures is in the global uni. I don't gatekeep. I don't, some people like, I only tell my one-to-one clients what I do. I don't believe in any of that bollocks. Like you, if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the answer because I genuinely want you to make the money, right? So I teach all of that within the global uni. I teach different forms of marketing, launch strategies. I teach different forms of, in the global uni specifically, okay? That's where you've got the multidimensional business system. I teach high ticket sales. I teach just, you know, what we do to grow our social media following, like all of that's in the global uni within all of the products and programs there. But as you're hearing from today, right? Just having the structures and the strategies, yes, that's valuable. And yes, you should pay to get that information. And yes, if you've decided that you want to build a digital business, you have to educate yourself. But like we've spoken about today, what the actual work is when you work with me isn't just the strategies and the structures. And this is why it's integrative, because I've invested 21K. I worked with a guy called Brendan Kane. It was an absolutely fucking fantastic investment. It was awesome. He's the 1 million followers in 30 days guy. But he designed I paid 21,000 or 25,000, I can't ever remember, for 3 sessions, an hour and a half. A lot of people wouldn't do that. And I got a PDF. But it wasn't just a PDF. It was a PDF that said, this is your 7-figure strategy. And he was the one that taught me how to live launch. He actually also sent me to someone else, and I spent another 3,000 there, right? But in those 3 hours and in that PDF, because I really applied it, I've gone on to make millions, right? So was that worth my 21K? It absolutely was. But a lot of strategists are just like him. And the reason that it worked for me is that I had all of the resources and the tools to work through what came up. Because obviously shit came up and it wasn't always easy internally, right? So what I do with my clients is I blend all aspects, right? So I've spoken to internal aspects like reprogramming. I've spoken to tools. I've spoken to being with the feeling in the body. We need training on that. That's what I do with people in the global uni. You're not expected to know how to do that if no one's educated you on doing that. But the thing that really shifts stuff for people is just notice how much braver, notice how much bigger you feel after 3 days of this. It's not even the education, it's not even the blueprints, it's not even the combination of all of the integrated factors. It's like when you are held in a community and you have a wobble, you come back and you hear this. And so it means that you are so much less likely to go back and do old past self stuff. You are so much more likely because you are consistently being held and fed and held to your highest level. And I've had people that have never made a sale in their business or have barely made a sale in their business that are now launching successfully. And it's because we've discovered that they knew what to do, but within the launch, right, they would freak out, shut down, rejection would come up, they'd freak out. And just me holding her and being there and remember like that, and following it kept her there because she kept shutting before the success could arrive, right? So the beauty of mentorship isn't just what you learn on an intellectual level, it's being led by someone and borrowing their faith whilst you don't believe. That's part of it. I work with people that have done much more money than me and many more, things, not because they're better than me and not because I necessarily intellectually learned something new. Sometimes I do. But because sometimes I need that level of faith, that next level of reality that I've not experienced it. And so within the global uni, we've got the foundation option, which is where you get all of the blueprints. If you bought all of the blueprints separately, it's something like 74,000. It's 13,000, down 2,000, from 15 to 13,000, right? But what I highly recommend for those of you guys that are actually serious about business, because Some of you are like, I'm a blueprint gal, plug me in. I'm that type of person. Like, I'm the kind of person that can say nothing in a group program and no one know who I am. And then I fucking blow it out of the water and they're like, who is she? Like, I've done that so many times in my life because I'm very, very, very self-sourced. And some of you guys will be listening to the replays and you've not spoken or responded to any of us because you got it. You're self-sourced. That's how you be in the world. Beautiful, right? But for some of you guys, you're like, actually, I want Hannah's mind, Hannah's support. So we've got the VIP tier. And that's still priced at 18,000, down from 20 for the year, which is insane because you get private support. I look at your copy, your messaging, your page, your websites, your launch plans. We work through patterns in real time as they appear. I blind spot you, right? So obviously that's a whole different ball game. And on top of that, what you get are the in-person experiences, either Marbella or Morocco, right? But being part of something that holds you as you're moving to something new is one of those things that for me has been and continues to be like a non-negotiable, right? So if you're resonating with me in the way that I work, I would really, really, really look at that. Do I need to say anything else about VIP? VIP, talking, and this is for my clients as well, talking about as you go up different levels, things change. I've only committed to doing VIP until the end of 2027. We probably predict after end of 2027 that will no longer make sense for the business structure and model to be so in other people's business, right? Look, doing the copy, because I'm very hands-on. I still can be kind of very hands-on. We're selling premium things behind the scenes. Some of you guys maybe have seen the ads. And so there are different things that are moving and are happening now. Okay. So if you're interested in that, again, this isn't false scarcity, but it is something to bring your awareness to. Okay, let's go to failure and let's close to failure. Next time I do a training, I'm just going to say that it's a fucking hour and a half because clearly that's what I've done every single day. Who here is scared of failure? Tashi says, I'm in this for the long run, joining the uni and then the cert. Yeah, I love that, Tashi. This week's been incredible, feeling so inspired, so happy to see that. Who isn't? I'm not scared of failure. I'm literally, is rejection failure? It's a form of failure, yeah. I've failed so many times that I give no fucks. I used to, but not anymore. Opportunity to learn, 100% scared of failure. Okay, for those of you that aren't scared of failure, what frightens you? When you think about committing and actually doing it, what comes up? I used to really fear failure, learning to see it as learning, yeah. Some people are like, I don't want to pick a goal in manifestation because what if I don't hit it and then it feels bad? So I'm just not going to do anything. I'm more scared of not having the life that I want than failing. Failing is what got me here. Yeah, well, Nicole, that's clearly working for you, isn't it, darling? Disappointing someone. Okay, interesting. Putting so much effort behind a launch and then not making sales afterwards. So that's a form of failure. I'm scared of putting effort out and not receiving immediate results. That's business. That will happen. So scared of being rejected to show my true self. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we'll all have different things, but it's like that version that Jasmine's put, I'm so scared of funneling my energy into something and it not working. That's basically what she's saying. So it avoids you launching properly, which keeps it not working. And it actually keeps you in the pattern. Right. And so I know when I go into a launch, it could not work. Of course I do. I know when I launch a new product, it could not work. When we began with ads, I basically just lost money, like money, right? Like five-figure money. And I knew that that was the cost of learning. But what was the other option? The other option was I never learn and I don't have an automated sales system. Because there's different forms of money and there's different cash monkeys, right? But like when you build a cash monkey that builds money without you and it's not always you on, right? That's the beauty of your digital product. That's the beauty of an ad, which has intrinsic value to me because I want to have kids, right? As well. Also, as a human being, why would that not have intrinsic value to you? So the cost of entry is firstly hiring someone to do the ads, hiring training to do the ads, hiring messaging, and then a burn rate at the beginning. But the thing is, social media makes it look like that no one has a learning curve. Oh my God, I started ads and then in one day I doubled my like fucking shut up. You're not telling the truth. Marketing is giving you such a small perception of what's happening behind the scenes, right? So what you have to know, right? What you have to know is that you will fail. And sometimes you'll fail in the moments where you most need to win. But you can handle it. You can handle it. Doesn't need to be perfect. And if in those moments of failure, you're willing to look at the lesson, like I'm seeing here, and seeing lots of people saying, right? That failure will take you to the biggest success of your life. But you cannot allow that failure to allow you to play lukewarm. Because if you start playing lukewarm and stop playing all in, all you're doing is just continuing the failure and you stay there forever. So the reason that I talk about failure is that so many people are frightened of failure. So many people are frightened of rejection. So many people are frightened of, they're like, I want to meet the love of my life, but never be rejected. Good fucking luck. I want to build business success, but I never want to lose money. Well, you won't build business success. Someone stole 48,000 from me over the Christmas period. I fucking lose. Of course I do. And now I've got to decide whether to take a criminal court case in France. And I haven't made a decision on it. Like, people that are successful are able to take these blows, take the lessons, and make money from them. No one wins all of the time. Steve Jobs got kicked out of his fucking company. And then he came back and had the greatest winning streak. And I don't know if Steve Jobs is a great example of like healthy success, right? But he is an example of doing something extraordinary. Exactly. I've been there, done that, and I know that I can figure out everything. Exactly. But that experience of knowing that you can figure out everything, that needs to be the dominant thing as you build in business and you build business success. Because the truth is, you can handle it. And if you can handle it, that means that you can risk. When you fall in love, you hold the risk of being rejected, but you can handle the feeling of being rejected. We've all been rejected, right? Redirected. You can handle failure. You can handle disappointing people. You can handle loss. You can handle pain. It's not that bad. But what's much worse is not fully going for something. Because then you create the failure, you create the rejection, you create all of the stuff that you want, and you keep yourself in the lack of having what you want. You avoid suffering and create more suffering. Being so scared of being rejected or showing my true self, yeah. So you've got to, for those of you that are scared of failure, you've got to practice failing. For those of you that are scared of rejection, you've got to practice getting rejected. And the work is, the somatic work is, as the feeling of rejection arises, to just be with it. Instead of making something else or something wrong or shutting down, I allow this feeling of rejection to exist in my body. I allow this feeling of fear to exist in my body. You know, one of the things that set me free is that I watched my mum die. And that's probably the worst death, right? Like, that's not ideal. And I realized that even in death, there was so much beauty. And in that moment, I realized I could handle anything. So I'm going to play for what I want, right? Why would I not? And so that's the contemplation of failure. The more that you're frightened of failure, the more that you'll create it because you don't fully go in. And the more that you can just accept that failure will exist within your life, and you still go for it and you take the lesson and you move to the next thing, you can't ever fail. It doesn't exist. It's part of the journey, but it's not where you end up. You will lose money on the way of making money. You will have launches that are better, you will have launches that are worse. But in the launches that are worse, you'll learn incredible lessons. You will make investments, and some of them are better than others, and you will learn lessons that will change the rest of your life. You will make decisions that aren't always perfect, but through those making of those decisions, like the worst relationship I ever had was before Craig, and I learned so much about myself from it. And that's what led me to a healthy relationship. But you can't allow the negative experience to shut you down, because then you've lost the game, because it can't come in. And even if you look at the mechanics of manifestation, people that are fantastic manifestors energetically have open hearts. To open your heart is a risk. I'm not saying don't have discernment and don't have protection. You absolutely fucking should. But imagine living open-heartedly. I take the risk. I feel the intuition, work with that person, work with that coach. Because some of you guys are going, I need to work with Hannah, and you're shutting it down immediately. Some of you guys have just met someone romantically and you feel a pull and you're shutting it down because you're scared. You're closing your heart. That's why I talk about you've got to stay open to life. But also vibrationally, you're not as magnetic. Your heart is cold. You can do a ritual and get 10% of the result. Joe Dispenza talks about this heart and mind coherence. You have to stay open to life. And in order to stay open to life, you've got to make peace with failure. And I think sometimes the industry online is part of the problem because we don't talk about how normal it is to fail, how normal it is to lose. I've had launches that have flunked. All fucking have. You know? Failure is what will really teach and redirect my path to the highest good. How will I learn otherwise? Exactly. But hell yes, it can be risky. Yes, it won't define my worth. Exactly. It won't define your worth, which is the tendency of what I'm doing. I know I'm self-judgmental and I'm starting to feel nauseous about it. The final thing that I will leave you with, and some of you guys that have built success and lost success will get this. I spiked fast because I'm fucking insane, as you can see, right? Like I jumped in, like I just, you know, talk about burning desire, I burnt every single bridge, I put every single penny I've got into it, I borrowed money, I was like, this is what I'm doing, I made a commitment and I got it fucking done, you know? And then I had my first experience of hate online, and it crushed me. It absolutely crushed me, because as I hit that new level of success, I learned in that next level I was more seen and people would have opinions. And I had such a good girl image. To have this wave of hate like broke me. It was so confronting, and it wasn't their fault, it was my fault. I didn't have the inner resources to deal with it. But anyway, what happened was that I shut down. My heart shut down. I kept showing up marketing, but I was literally, it felt like my heart was broken. I literally felt like I'd had my heart broken in a way, because it was sometimes people that I knew, people that were my friends. Like it was just, I suppose I grew in success so fast that it was hard for people around me. And I understand that, yeah. And I'm not mad in any way. I didn't know how to process it. And so I shut my heart down and my income dropped for a short period of time. And the worst thing about my income dropping was that I realized that I lost all sense of worthiness and sense of self. And it was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me, because to rebuild, I had to disentangle my internal worthiness from how much money I can make. Because if not, you can be a millionaire, and if you have a low month, it feels like the end of the fucking world. A lot of people are stuck in, I need to make this much this month, and they don't ever allow themselves to have time off, right? Because they've got so much worthiness that's attached to it. And it's like, it's not that fucking deep. You're allowed to make as much money as you want in a season, and then you're allowed to have a season where you make no money. If you're set up for it practically, why the fuck wouldn't you? You can do whatever the fuck you want. There are no rules. So you have to disentangle inherent worthiness. You have to, because if not, you'll have joined another hamster wheel. And that hamster wheel is, I have to make X amount of money to like myself. And that is a hell that many successful people live in because they've become addicted to it. Yeah. Okay, that's where I'm going to close. I probably could say more things. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about oh, maybe I want to say one more thing. Tomorrow I want to talk about unique blueprint. I'm going to say one more thing. Sorry. Sometimes, if you have to go, you can go. By the way, it's not an issue. But I just feel like I need to say this. Sometimes there will be seasons in business where you will be tested, and there will be seasons in life where you are tested. Okay. One of the most formative seasons in my life, I would move to New Zealand. I ended up in an abusive relationship. I was living with him. So I left him. I ended up not having a house. I had two jobs. I was exhausted. I kept like passing out in the street and no one knew why. That's very frightening, by the way, when you're fainting and you have no explanation for why you're fainting. And so I moved out of his house. I had literally no home to live in. I was working at a restaurant and working at a school for kids with autism in New Zealand, which I worked with kids with disability before I came and did this. And by Gracie, I had friends that worked in the restaurant and I basically asked them and they allowed me to sleep in their wardrobe. They had a little walk-in wardrobe. So I literally slept in a fucking wardrobe, right? So can you imagine? And I called myself Hanny Potter, like Harry Potter. I thought that was fucking hilarious. I've still got the Instagram post. I think I'm funny. If you can't lol in a terrible life moment, what the fuck can you do? I quit both my jobs because I kept passing out. So obviously it wasn't practical to keep doing two jobs where I was waitressing if I kept passing out. Do you know what I mean? And no one could explain it. And everyone around me was like, you should go home. You don't know anyone in New Zealand. And I told my parents. And the thing that I will say about my parents is that they have never fucking coddled me. They've always said, we believe you can figure this out. And it is the best thing. They didn't send me money, right? It was back in the day where an international transfer would have been like taken too long as well. They didn't send me money. They didn't, and they would, if I'd asked, they would have helped me. Okay, to be clear, there's nothing wrong with asking for money from people if they can give it to you and you need it, right? But in that moment, I didn't feel the need. And anyway, I decided I had this great idea. I was like, okay, I need to solve this. I can't live in a wardrobe for the rest of my life, obviously. That's not where I wanted to go. I was like, I need a job where I can pay for health tests by Nicole. And I found a hostel, and what they did is they paid you the wage to work in the hostel, but you got a free room. So I did that, and it was sat in a reception. So if I passed out, we'd be fine. And I started investing all of my money into naturopaths. I was 23, so it was just before my mum got re-diagnosed. I was investing all of my money into naturopaths. It took me about 8 months. I found out I'd worked in a by a banana farm and in Australia, and I'd got blood poisoning because you're working with the farm, you're working with all the chemicals, right? So I'd got blood poisoning. It fucked up. Like I had an infection. My liver was really, really poorly. I had to stop drinking alcohol. I was really, really, really unwell. And so I started working with these naturopaths. I invested everything that I had from my hostel wage into these naturopaths. And it took me about 8 months. And 8 months, those 8 months, I got well. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. And I'll tell you why it was one of the best experiences of my life. I learned that I was capable. I learned with no home. I learned with no job, with no family, knowing a handful of people, being pretty sick, that I could find a way. And when I began the business, I would think about that all of the time. And if I can find a way when I've got no income, no family, right? I keep passing out because I've got blood poisoning. Do you think I'm not going to find a way now? And so sometimes we need to stop looking externally for something to save us. And actually, if you're being faced with a challenge right now, maybe God's just trying to show you how capable you actually fucking are. And that will change the rest of your life if you lean into it. Instead of trying to make it wrong, or instead of saying, I wish it was easier, or instead of comparing yourself to someone else. If you just leaned into whatever you're experiencing, the skill sets, the capabilities, right? Because I might look cute, but I'm actually a bit scrappy. Do you know what I mean? Like if I've got to figure shit out, you bet I'm gonna fucking figure shit. And the polished brands online, they're not telling you that that's what they're actually like. They've got that. And you can't build your whole business in that always, but you need a bit about you. So you make a commitment and you find a way. That's money. For me, it was scrubbing dishes in Spain. Yeah, alone, no home, not speaking the language, eternally grateful for it. Yeah, exactly. And it gives you, like working in a banana farm, you guys have no idea the gratitude I feel when I go to a supermarket. I'm like, do you know how fucking hard farm work is? Like, it's so hard. It's like, like, and there's people that do that for us. So we go to a supermarket and there are bananas, right? So don't resent the hard experiences on the way. Be grateful for who they're making you. Okay, I'm complete now. Tomorrow we'll talk about blueprint. It's been such a pleasure. Oh, do I have homework? I don't think I wrote homework today. Okay, your quick homework is make a decision. Are you committing? What are you committing to making this money financially this summer? What are you committing to make this year? Are you getting some clarity? And well, I don't like the word clarity. Too many people are looking for fucking clarity. What a load of bollocks. Sorry, I know one of my clients text me this. I'm calling you out on all of your stuff today. Clarity comes through action. You're never clear when you're in the middle of the road, and you're in the middle of the road until you die. So you'll be clear when you die. Basically, you can be clear on the next step ish. You can focus on what's clear and what's not clear, right? So, are you committed to making a certain amount of money this summer? What is it? Are you committed to making a certain amount of money this year? Are you committed to making a certain amount of money in the next few years? What has to change? What's changing? What are you doing differently? What is going? What actions are you taking? What education are you going to receive? Like, are you going to step to the plate? Okay, that's your homework. And now I need to remember it so I can post it in the group, right? Thank you. So many of you guys have stayed. It's such a pleasure how many of you guys stayed to the end. And if you've had to go, that's totally fine as well. But maybe you're watching the replay. Okay, ciao, ciao.